All right, kiddos. Hope everybody's well. Last class, you wrapped up the topic of nuclear energy. We saw how it can be both good and bad. So let's do a couple review questions. Number one, which nation's ongoing efforts to develop nuclear weapons in the early 21st century has caused international concern? This is like a very modern question. You guys might not know it. Just a reminder with centuries, you subtract 1 from your century to get your years. So 21 minus 1 is 220. So this would be the 2000s, all right? Like if somebody says the 19th century, subtract 1, and it's the 1800s, okay? So we are currently in the 21st century because our year begins with the number 2020. And the country that's trying to create nuclear weapons, has created nuclear weapons and freaking people out, is North Korea, with its awful dictator of Kim Jong-un. France, China, and Soviet Union were among the first countries to get nuclear weapons. The United States was the very first. All right, second question has to do with yesterday's lesson. In April 1986, events at the Soviet nuclear plant in Chernobyl demonstrate that. Sorry, my lights just went out. We saw an awful nuclear meltdown that poisoned the land, poisoned the air, gave people radiation poisoning, causing cancers. And what this shows us is that risks are sometimes involved with advanced technology. Very rarely is there a perfect solution. Nuclear energy is dope because it doesn't produce pollution, but at the same time, it has very, very dangerous potential side effects if there's a meltdown, which we saw in Chernobyl and more recently in Japan. All right, throw it way back to our first topic, Neolithic Revolution. Positive and negative effects. Positive. We get to stay in one place and build cities. Positive, we get to specialize and do jobs that we're good at because we no longer have to spend our entire days getting food. Positive, more food is grown, leading to higher populations. Negative, the diseases that kill millions of people come from animals. We start living with and working with these animals during the Neolithic Revolution, and their sicknesses become human sicknesses. So measles comes from a pig, the flu comes from birds and pigs, smallpox comes from cows. These have killed hundreds of millions of people. Negative, we see increased war as people begin fighting for the good, fertile farmland. All right, today we're going to look at our last topic of this unit, the enduring issue of human and the environment. We're going to look at global warming or climate change. They're like synonymous terms, they're interchangeable. You can say global warming or climate change. And we're going to look at the cause or the start of it today, kind of what was going on, the context that helps explain it. And what was going on was a big, huge change, not the Neolithic Revolution, the Industrial Revolution. We'll go more into that later this year. But it was the change from using muscles and hands to using machines to get work done. Those machines burned fossil fuels. At the start, they burned coal. So here's what an early industrial city in England looked like, where it began. A city like Birmingham, for example. And all of this smoke coming out of the smokestacks is pollution caused by burning coal. And that pollution is going to lead to the start of man-made climate change. All right, so the Industrial Revolution starts this process, which I think is the biggest threat to the world. I think it's the most important issue for your generation, certainly, and one of our biggest global challenges. So I mentioned the term fossil fuels. Fossil fuels, burning fossil fuels is what causes global warming. All right, there's 3 big fossil fuels that humans burn. Coal, which is the dirtiest, it produces the most pollution. Petroleum or gasoline is a little less dirty than coal, but still produces a lot of pollution. And it's kind of a big problem extracting it from the earth. Natural gas, which sometimes if you look at a city bus, it'll say like run on natural gas. And that's better than the other 2 because it's the cleanest of the 3, but it still creates pollution. All right. Here's a breakdown of our energy use in the US, right? Renewable energy, stuff that doesn't create pollution, only 11% of our energy comes from that. Nuclear power, which we talked about, only 9%, or about 9 to 10% of our power comes from nuclear. So 20% of our energy in this country does not cause global warming. 80% of our energy does. That's a problem. Now, how does this work? I burn my fossil fuel. I burn my carbon, my gas, my petroleum. Smoke goes into the atmosphere, and what happens is it kind of collects out there in the top of the atmosphere, and it kind of forms a shell or a layer around the Earth. So the sun's heat keeps coming into the Earth, but then this shell of pollution traps it. And so the heat is trapped in, slowly warming our temperatures, melting the ice in the North and South poles, leading to higher sea level rise and all the problems we know that are associated with global warming. But that's like the scientific process, how it works. The heat is trapped in. And that's why it's called a greenhouse effect. If you guys have ever been into a greenhouse, there's just like glass boxes, and it doesn't seem like they'd be a lot warmer than the outside air, but they are because they trap the sun's heat in. That's what the pollution from fossil fuels does. All right, here's average temperatures going up, right? This is kind of early start of Industrial Revolution down here, steadily climbing both oceans and land temperatures, all right? And now we said it started in England. They're the first ones to have factories and machines. But that Industrial Revolution, that technology has spread throughout the world now. And so hundreds of countries now have gone through that process. And so almost everybody is contributing to global warming. Here's a picture from the capital of India. It's a picture from a major Chinese city where the air has become dangerous to breathe. There is so much pollution in it, all right? Because we have way more people now, way more machines now, burning way more fossil fuels now, okay? And this is like an ethical conundrum where climate change has now gotten to the point where you really can't deny it, and it's gonna take everybody to fix it. No one country can fix it. But we gotta remember, it started with what are now the rich countries. The countries in Europe and the United States got the Industrial Revolution first. They've polluted the most. They've caused this problem more than the other countries. But now, all of a sudden, here we have, this guy represents the rich countries of the world who had the Industrial Revolution for a long time. The woman represents the countries that just got the Industrial Revolution. And the rich countries are telling the poor countries, you need to stop burning the earth. You need to slow down your global warming. And she's like, yeah, but you started it. You turned it on. And so I don't think it's fair that the rich countries are telling the poor countries to fix the problem. Everybody has to work together for sure, but it should be the responsibility of those who started the problem to fix it. All right, and that's like a big kind of causes big arguments in the world today between the United States and those countries that more recently got the Industrial Revolution. So reach out, kids, with questions about climate change, questions about nuclear power, or questions about the Neolithic Revolution. All right, take care.